we doing this morning, church? That was kind of sad. Let's try that again. How we doing this morning, church? All right. I like that. Sounds like a Pentecostal church now. I can go ahead and go. All right. Thank you again, Pastor, for allowing me to come up here. I don't take it lightly. Anyone who does a 5-spot understands how serious it is when we come up here, that he gives us a chance to speak before you and all the ministerial staff that backs us up. Let's go ahead and start reading in Acts 1:1. It says, "The former treatise have I made, O Theophilus, of that Jesus began both to do and teach." And I just want to talk a little more about walking what you have been talking. You may be seated. So, we've all heard the saying, you can talk the talk, but can you walk the walk? Now, Luke mentions in Acts, and actually puts it in the correct order. You know, it says to do and teach. A lot of people just like to teach, but never the doing. A lot of people like to do a lot of talking, but never do any of the walking. So many people tend to reverse those two. They talk more than they walk. As I said, you see everywhere people have endless advice. Everywhere you go, people want to give you their 2 cents, you know. I mean, social media is nothing but just endless advice of nonsense, but nothing to show for it in their personal life half the time. So some give advice on how to achieve financial freedom, yet they're in a bottomless pit of debt. Some give relationship or marriage advice, but have been through 3 different divorces. I'm not saying that these people can't offer lessons learned advice. I'm just saying, I'm making a point this morning that they wouldn't be where they were if they weren't practicing what they're teaching you. If they teach you what they practice, they wouldn't have to give you lessons learned advice, but lessons lived advice in the good sense. The best example of one who practiced what he preached would be, yes, Jesus. He showed us through his works how to carry ourselves as a Christian. He gave us many examples of how to show others love, how to have a strong prayer life, how to be humble, and all the things we do. He warned us of those who do not follow what they say, and that's in Matthew 23:3. It says, "All, therefore, whatsoever they bid you, observe, that observe and do. But do not ye after their works, for they say and do not." Meaning that, and he was talking about the scribes and the Pharisees at this time, you know, the bigwigs, you know, evangelisms, people, you know, not evangelism, sorry, those who said they knew the word, spoke the word, but never actually lived the word. So he was making a point that even the people who are considered to be at a reverence level or at a higher level than what they try to teach people, but they never actually practiced it. So how are you going to teach someone that you can't even walk in your own what you're teaching? And I'm sorry, I'm kind of redoing that a little bit. Jesus tells us back in Matthew 5:14, though. It says, "Ye are the light of the world, a city that is set on a hill that cannot be hid." Basically, our words need to bring just as much attention as our actions. Both our words and our actions have to work in congruence in order for them to have God's anointing on them. You know, people, and this is not in my notes, it just makes sense. You know, people, especially when you walk in truth, people watch everything you do. And I don't mean like, the government's always watching. I'm talking about people in your everyday life are watching you. They don't even know why they're watching you, but they are. And you're underneath a microscope. So anything you say, anything you do, they're watching it. And the second you slip up, the second you do something, say something, they're gonna scrutinize you for it. They're gonna be like, "I thought you were a Christian. I thought you were a man of God, a woman of God. Why did you just say that? Why did you just do that?" And they'll never forget it. They'll never let it go. They'll always bring it up too later. And that's why you always have to be aware of what you do. So in James 3:3-6, and I'm just going to go through it quick because I don't have much time. Basically, it talks about how we can tame animals. We can put a bridle on the horse's mouth, and we can actually steer ships, because we have the sails to do it. But the one thing that we can't tame is our tongue. And what it's talking about is that the tongue is a very small part of you, but it is one of the most important parts of you. So the second if you don't watch what you say, everything you do does not matter. And everything you do doesn't matter if you don't teach what you say. So let's go to, all right, so it's been a year since my baby's been born. Being a dad, I tend to look at things I didn't look at before, which is normal for a parent. I kind of look at things that I took for granted. My daughter, I realize, mimics everything my wife and I do. So this is how she learns, is by doing first, which is how we should be doing, and then teaching, teaching what we do. So she makes me wonder at times, are we doing what we teach? Of course, there are little things right now, just walking, basic talking, and things like that. But when she starts realizing and getting more understanding of what we're doing with our lives, is she actually paying attention to the things we want her to pay attention to? Is she actually doing the things that we teach in our household? Is she learning good traits or bad traits? This needs to be the same questions we ask ourselves when we're at home, when we're at work, the store, even at church. We are always being watched. Church, it doesn't matter who it is. What evidence are we showing of our walk with God? What examples are you setting for your families, for your coworkers, your friends? How about your enemies? There's going to be plenty of people out there to get you, and those are the ones who are going to scrutinize you. So those are the ones that you have to always be a good example for. Never forget that people are always keeping an eye on you. So let the words we say and the actions we do be unto the glory of God. It says that in Colossians. So this morning, I just want to say, as I'm closing, that everything we do, everything we say, let us practice what we preach and what we say when we're here at church, okay? Thank you. Have a good day.